Good evening, welcome to Burnley. As you've seen, we're a little bit late, a little bit of hassle getting into the ground, but we're here, and we're at the very top of the stand here at Turf Moor to deliver some very interesting Norwich City team news, which I'm sure you've seen, but we will run through it nonetheless. Norwich City lining up tonight in what looks like a 4-3-3, some very interesting situations, decisions, fitness issues that Dean Smith has tonight. This is how Norwich City line up, hopefully. The connection's holding up. So Norwich City line up with Gunn in goal, Aarons, Hanley, Tompkinson and McCallum as the back four. A midfield three of Sarah, Hayden and Nunez. Nunez probably on the right, Sarah on the left of that. With Sargent, Campwell either side of Temu Buki, the subs bench, Tim Krul, Jordan Hugel, Aaron Ramsey, Onel Hernandez, Tony Springett, Brad Hills, young Norwich City under-18 defender, and Liam Gibbs. So we think that's going to be a 4-3-3, but obviously some issues there. No Ben Gibson, no Dimitris Giannoulis, who of course did go down at Bramall Lane and has had some injury issues. But I'm going to bring Paddy in. Hopefully you'll be able to squeeze in at what is a very tight camera angle. But Pad, if you come and join me, some very interesting team news from Turf Moor, and we're in. Thank goodness for that.
Yeah, what a shambles! If this is anything to go by, then I would turn off now and go upstairs and put the pillow over your head, because it's not been the smoothest entry to Turf Moor, to be honest.
Can we just say as
very
well?
Very officious stewarding, and we'll leave it at that.
And we also left at 12:30 this afternoon, so it's not like we haven't left in good time either.
No, God knows. We've gone in some sort of time machine backwards, I think, because time was standing still outside there. But
anyway, what do you make of the team news?
Yeah, not that I'm fuming about matters, but well, I mean, he said, to pick up the threads from when we spoke to Dean Smith, Colney yesterday morning, prior to them training, prior to him getting a full medical report as it was. He had one or two issues. Now we know one or two of those issues were around Ben Gibson and Demi Giannoulis. Giannoulis, less of a surprise, given it was his first start of the weekend in 2 months or so. Gibson is a surprise, but then, he has had periods where he's not been able to sustain a place in the side injury-wise. Worth pointing out, obviously, we'll speak to Dean Smith after the game. We'll get full chapter and verse. But as it stands, we can deal in the here and now, and that is Jonathan Tompkinson, first league appearance for Norwich. Big night for him alongside Grant Hanley, and nearly as big, Sam McCallum, who Dean Smith did reveal yesterday was ahead of schedule in terms of post-World Cup. No, he's ticked all the boxes. The performance team have released him to the first team. But there wasn't really a sense even then that he would be starting tonight. Clearly, they were going to monitor Giannoulis. Giannoulis hasn't made it, so no McLean, obviously, second of a 3-match ban. No Byron again. That's a concern, I think, with his hip issue. So it is essentially needs must, to paraphrase what Dean Smith said at the weekend. And Sam McCallum, after a long period out, I think it was Birmingham in the League Cup and back in August, early August. There's no easing him in. You're back in tonight, and ahead of him, it's gone probably unnoticed with the focus on that back four, but Gabby Zara back in, which is good news. He was ill, missed the weekend trip to Sheffield United. Ramsey drops out. So, midfield and forward line, bar Zara in and Ramsey out. That's as you were at Bramall Lane, but of course, a huge focus now is on that back four and two elements of that back four, which I'm sure Burnley and Vincent Kompany will look at that, and they will look to probe for any vulnerability there. And let's not get ahead of ourselves, but with McCallum, particularly fitness-wise, that has to be a huge concern. How will he last the pace? Will he last the pace? You look at that bench, and I think Onel Hernandez played at left wing back when he was on loan at Birmingham, so whether that would have to be an option if needs must. But
Springett came on there as well.
I'm minded to say we'll leave Springett where he should be playing, which is further forward, because he didn't exactly cover himself in glory at Bramall Lane, and that's not being disrespectful to the lad. But both there and in the League Cup when he was tried at left back against Bournemouth, he's not a left back, and he was exposed badly when he did come on. So that's not something I'd personally want to see. But that's where we are. They've got Hills on the bench, you've got Gibbs on the bench, you've got Springett on the bench. Three very young men, but I don't think Dean Smith will be looking for excuses, but if this doesn't go the way we hope it goes tonight, then he has already made one because of the changes he's had to make to that back four. But we'll park that for now. It's up to these lads to try and, if you're Tompkinson, grasp an opportunity. If you're McCallum, to try and defy fitness levels maybe, and really come in and give everything you've got, but inevitably he is going to tire, as you knew listed at the weekend. And of course, in all of this is Isaac Hayden, who certainly Saturday, but also Watford, he looked like he didn't have a lot left in the tank, and he might be required to go the full 90 tonight. So, the preparation is far from ideal. It is what it is. We've been here already this season, particularly at left back, and we're here again tonight at left back. So, the players who are on show are the ones who have to go out there and perform, and we'll see where that gets us. But against a team who haven't lost here all season, a team with 1 point and 2 places off the top of the table, who were 2-0 down at Sunderland Saturday and came back, scored 4 goals. It's hard to be optimistic, but that's where we have to be at this stage. As we half an hour out from kickoff, we have to be positive, and hopefully, in adversity, those players and that coaching staff can find a performance. But all the wins, it would appear, a negative, and they're going to have to overcome a lot of adversity tonight, I think.
Yeah, Norwich don't have a particularly great record here at Turf Moor. I think the last win was it 5-3-1 in the promotion campaign under
Nigel? They won in the FA Cup, didn't they? Yeah.
League win, yes, of course. They did win the FA Cup here a couple of years ago in that run that, of course, saw them beat Tottenham on penalties. I'll just read you the Burnley side. They're lined up in a 4-2-3-1 tonight. They have Muric in goal. Coutinho, Harwood, Bellis, Bayer and Matson, their back four. Brownhill and Cork will be the midfield two. In front of them, Saint Sloaney, Nathan Teller, Gudjonsson and Zaruri make up their three behind Jay Rodriguez. And I'll try and find their subs bench for you in just a moment, which I won't be able to get you to in a minute. But Paddy, we don't need to talk about how tough this test is. It's already difficult, and it's made even more difficult.
I'm trying to get Norwich's head of comps to come on here, but he's not going to come on.
No, I don't think he is. Right, the subs bench. They've got Peacock, Farrell on the bench, Taylor, Roberts, Bastian, Benson, Barnes, and Fisoglu as well makes up their subs bench. But Burnley going well. They're in a good position at this moment in time. And as you can see, the feeling, not particularly great one from the comments, but Pad, the front end of the team, if we're looking for positives, does feel relatively strong, perhaps compared to obviously the two defensive players that come in. Gabriel Sara back, which is a boost. Todd Cantwell gets another go after what I felt was a pretty encouraging performance at Bramall Lane on Saturday. There's certainly players in there who could hurt Burnley if Norwich City get in the right areas tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it was for 45 minutes, maybe 50 minutes, a step forward for me. It was a cohesiveness, there was a structure, players comfortable in the positions and the roles they were being asked to do, and that was a positive. But obviously then, allied to Sheffield United, I'm sure their manager and coaching staff getting into those players, their crowd got into it, and then the wheels came off, and obviously the tiredness with Yanulis and Hayden, and it looked very frayed and very fractured. Although obviously with Timu Pukki and that penalty, they could have won it in the end. But yeah, no, if we're going to focus on the positives, then I don't think Sara coming in and Ramsey going out, for me, weakens Norwich as an attacking force. So, it is that type of structure again. I think when Norwich do get the ball, they have players good enough to test this Burnley back line. But, the reality is, the way I think Burnley are going about the task at the minute, they're going to have a lot of possession, I think. And if they do, your fear is that how well protected is that makeshift back four for Norwich, and that's where the onus comes in on Hayden and Nunes particularly. And if they can offer that type of protection, then I've no doubt going the other way, Norwich will pose problems, because they have in Josh Sargent and Timu Pukki arguably two of the best attacking players, goal-scoring players at this level. It's just about working them into opportunities where they can really test this Burnley back line. And they were 2 goals down at Sunderland on Saturday. That tells you they've got at and they are vulnerable. So, there's no doubt they will be big favourites, I think, tonight, based on everything we've discussed and the team news that's dropped now. But, Norwich have players capable of causing any team in this division problems. And it's really as Dean Smith has said quite often to us, how clinical can they be? And again, on Saturday, he said he watched the game back on Sunday, and the number of opportunities they had at 2-0 when they had an overload and they didn't take them, and that ultimately probably cost them, because if it had gone 3-0, I don't think Sheffield United come back. So when Norwich do get opportunities tonight, as they will do, clinical, take your opportunities, and then when inevitably your back four comes under pressure, you've got something to hold on to. So, I think we have to be positive and say that Norwich have players in this 11 who can cause Burnley problems.
How do you see it going, Pads?
Well, given the shenanigans of us trying to get in here, and Sam Seaman has disappeared with my laptop, so at the minute I don't know what I'm going to do to produce any content. It can only get better from here. But it is hard to see, as I said. I mean, if Norwich had come here with their, Yanulis for me, Gibson, their first choice available, back four, I think they'd still probably been on the wrong end of it. But ultimately, as I said right at the start, the excuses are already there. So whether it rolls on now to Stoke, and that's when we start to judge them again. But let's be polished here. Norwich, like Burnley, are a squad packed with players who were in the Premier League last season. They're good enough, even with the adversity, to come here and get a result. But given how well Burnley seem to be playing, look at their record. I think they're 7 wins, 8 draws, and only 1 defeat. And even that defeat was probably very unfortunate. To me, they are the form side. They are the benchmark at this stage in the Championship. So it's hard to look past the Burnley win. 2-0 for me. You, Connor?
I would concur. Yeah, I think we're going to be in for a tough night here tonight, to be completely honest. And I felt that before I'd seen the team, let alone now I have seen the team. And obviously, there will be a degree of mitigation because of the changes that Dean Smith has been forced into. No Danel Sinani on the bench as well, which is interesting. As I look down the pitch side, I can see Craig Bellamy putting the Burnley players through their paces. Of course, assistant manager here. It's going to be an interesting night. Let's see how Norwich City get on. Of course, Pink and Channels for all the coverage this evening. I'll be on the live blog over on our app. You can get a free trial for that. Go to pinken.com. Top left, there should be a Pink and Plus tab. Click on that, follow all the instructions, and you can join me for some live debate, and I feel like it's going to be plenty of that this evening. We're going to sign off. Hopefully nothing breaks as we do so in the spirit of this evening. I think in the description of this video it said Bramall Lane, so that again, we'll add that to the list of frustrations. But hopefully we're definitely at Turf Moor. Hopefully you can forgive us for what's been a fairly rogue broadcast. We'll hopefully be back in full form at Carrow Road on Saturday for Stoke. But let's see how we get on here tonight at Turf Moor. Thank you very much for watching. See you again very soon.